Hello everybody, I am Tom and you are watching me play Disco Elysium. In the last episode we talked to the guy who was stopping us getting into the Union Yard, who was a dude who was about 3 feet taller than us. He was a massive black guy, also a big racist. So he was a Sumerese supremacist. He was talking about phrenology and things and talking about how he had superior bone structure, all that kind of stuff. It was an interesting conversation. And we kind of tried to talk him out of his racism, which is always relatively difficult. People who are racist are generally pretty stuck in their ways. But he didn't let us through, so we came up and walked in the other direction, and now it looks like we've found the rep for the company. The room in the Whirling isn't much bigger than this sloop. This is worth more than you'll ever earn in all your life.
A striking woman leans against the cabin top of her sailing boat, smiling as you approach. Her green raincoat glistens with droplets. A silk scarf is tied around her throat.
Good afternoon, officers. I'm Joyce. Joyce L. Messier. I represent the board of Wild Pines, the owners of the harbour. You gentlemen must be from the RCM.
Shake your hand.
I'm glad to see you here. I was dispatched to handle a strike, not a lynching. Anything I can do to assist the RCM in this matter, I will, gladly.
That is good to hear, madame. My colleague will take the lead on this interview. I should let you know that he is recovering from an unusual medical episode. Very unusual. But I can assure you
Thanks,
of
Kim.
his ultimate competency.
There's a trace of irony in his voice. Mischief, even. This is a tactic.
How interesting. I wish you a swift recovery. In the meanwhile, you have my full cooperation, and the full cooperation of the Wild Pines group.
Let's throw off. You seem rich. Can I have some money?
Is what you want to say, but it isn't that easy, is it?
What? Why not?
Look at that lady. Take a gander. Squint your eyes, bub.
What lustrous hair?
A well-kempt, yet tastefully short bob of dark hair. Despite the first hints of grey, she's elected to keep it au naturel, shaped into a permanent wave, late 40s style, while dull orange pearls hang from her earlobes, red from the cold. Her light green eyes scan you, full of knowledge and worry, wealth and all its possibilities. These are the kind eyes of the rich man that seem to say everything is possible, within reason.
Yeah, so.
Now look at you, you misery-clad simian, barely able to tie your own laces. Your armpits are lakes, a scythe of booze precedes you. Your hair sticks to your forehead, and your underwear feels uncomfortable. You're poor, poor as balls. You can't ask this person for money. You're too...
I'm not that ashamed. Like, look, as I was saying this before when we were asking other people for money. Yes, I would feel ashamed to ask for money. But this guy clearly doesn't. He was asking a little old lady in a wheelchair for money. Like, it's ridiculous. I'm not ashamed.
Oh, but you are. Too ashamed to ask this person for money. Too scared to belittle yourself in her eyes. Those half-precious stones of Erdenil.
As I was saying, if there's any way I may be of assistance, please don't hesitate to ask.
I'm gonna say it anyway.
Voila, you're doing it.
Can I have some money, ma'am?
Of course. How much do you need?
She's surprisingly nonchalant about this. Could it be that she somehow knows more about your predicament than she's letting on?
I need 130 real.
That's a good sum. Not too small, not fantastically large.
She removes a few notes
Goddamn.
and hands them to you. The paper is cold and oily to the touch.
So, I hope I didn't just bribe you, officer. It may not be technically illegal under the Emergency Act, but still.
I'm just getting my head around this money concept. You're just helping me out.
You're right, man, that donations are permitted under the Emergency Act, and seemly as it may be, as long as they are properly logged with the precinct.
Which he most certainly will do. Now, how else can I help the RCM today, besides supplementing its salaries?
You're on a boat.
Why, yes I am.
Does she have a name?
The boat? No. It is called Cordelati 19 because that's the type of sloop it is.
How do you like it?
My sloop? I like it a lot. It's the eel's hips, baby.
I'm enjoying this part of the interview. It has so little to do with the murder we're investigating.
I really do, the lieutenant thinks. Is she thrown off yet? He's looking at the woman, assessing her.
Do you have a license for this boat?
Officer, I assure you I'm a highly qualified pleasure craft operator.
Her nonchalance might be related to something called the Wayfarer Act, a law that says she doesn't need a license. Sly Fox, you're not aggressive enough to harass her further on this.
I think I have a handle on the boat thing.
Good.
What can you tell me about this strike?
Everything. Right up to, but not including, trade secrets.
What is your role in this precisely?
I believe the official title is Senior Labor Negotiator. In practice, I'm a grocery clerk. I relay the union's demands to Wild Pines and return with Wild Pines' counteroffer.
And how are the talks going?
They're not. That's the problem. The union stopped all negotiations a week ago, after that awful lynching took place. Now they won't even let me into the harbour. There's a 2-meter-20 racist behemoth blocking the gates.
Oh, you mean Measurehead.
Yes, Jean-Luc Measurehead.
How were the talks going before the lynching?
Let's say I was not making the kind of progress I'd hoped for when I first arrived.
Makes sense.
And when did you first arrive?
I arrived 3 weeks ago. Yes, in the middle of February. The bay was still partially frozen then. I prefer to do these things on site, like the RCM.
But the strike began in December.
I wasn't the original negotiator here. I took over after Mr. Gaumont hit a wall with Mr. Clare, the union boss. Mr. Clare refused to speak with Gaumont despite concessions he'd granted the union in prior negotiations.
This isn't the first time the union has gone on strike.
Heavens no. There have been 2 prior strikes. Both times the union won significant concessions, including overtime pay and a medical plan. This time their demands are more, I guess you could say, aggressive.
Ludicrous even. It's meant.
The scabs at the gate, did you put them there?
The scabs? You mean the huddled masses of Jamrock, come to plead for work where the union refuses to? If they were organized by Wild Pines or its affiliates, then it would be a company secret. I could not share it with you. Not right now, at least.
It's implied. She's open to discussing this matter with you at a later occasion.
What are their demands?
There are leaflets everywhere, and banners. What did they say again? Oh yes, every worker, a member of the board.
Most of the workers probably don't know what that means.
Seems like they have no idea about business.
In its defense, another said, demand democracy. Pretty tame stuff compared to every worker, a member of the board.
Most of them probably don't know what that means.
Fortunately, they explained it. Every time the Wild Pines group makes a decision about anything, it needs the signature of each of the 2,200 workers in its Martinez terminal.
Damn.
Just so you understand, this is but one of 22 terminals owned by Wild Pines. Essentially, not only are they kings of the company, they are also kings of the 72,000 employees of Wild Pines Group.
It is kind of funny.
They're having a blast. But how can they afford it? After 4 months, my assumption was they would prefer a more practical solution.
That is a point. I was wondering that as well. Like, you were saying they were having money problems and they were, like, kind of rationing food and shit like that, but where are they getting money from? What are you gonna do?
I'm not sure. Naturally, I assume that was just their opening position. A hard-nosed tactic with a side of mockery. But there's been no follow-up, just the same nonsensical slogan repeated over and over again. And now, people are getting lynched, I hear. Behind the whirling in rags. A disastrous situation if there ever was one.
Excuse me, from whom did you hear about this lynching?
I first heard it from the bowyer at the gates. The one whose very name advertises his aversion to work. I think he said it was, "Call me mañana."
This checks out.
What happened to this Goumont?
Mr. Clare told him to... How did he put it? Fuck off, midget. Gaumont is short of stature, you see.
Okay, then.
Yes. Keep in mind, this is a negotiator Mr. Clare has worked with before, and who was more than fair with him and the Union.
Tell me about this union boss, Mr. Clare.
Everard Clare is a man of the utmost integrity. If you can say one thing about him, it's that he always puts the interests of the workers first.
Really?
Of course not.
Oh.
Everard is fantastically corrupt. I imagine he has a thick, viscous goo where you and I have blood.
Is he that bad?
He is the most corrupt individual I have ever seen, and I deal with men like him for a living.
Yeah, that's
If there
saying
is
something.
anyone more venal, more irredeemably nepotistic, then it's his twin brother, Edgar.
Wait, there are two of him?
Yes, Edgar looks exactly like his brother, except for that lazy eye. He also talks exactly like Everard does, and when one's term as foreman is up, the other takes over. It's how they circumvent the term limits, you see, with a funny little switcheroo. While in office, they've embezzled God knows how much of their workers' dues.
Interesting. So there's a term limit on union leader, but they just swap. There's no, there's a limit to time, there's no limit to how many times you can be a union leader, so they just swap in between each other. That's kind of ridiculous. What about the union itself, outside the brothers?
The Débardeurs Union was once a perfectly normal institution. 20 years ago, anyway. It must not have been easy to establish under the Emergency Act. But they did it. I can respect that. Organised labour at its best, as they say. Then something happened in the local chapter elections. The brothers Clare came and transformed it into a... how do you say?
A mob. The Débardeurs are a crime syndicate. Sad as it may be, I suspect we'll be forced to cooperate with them.
Refreshingly honest, officer. The company has tried appeasing in the past, but I'm afraid our concessions have only emboldened Everard and his brother. And your opinion, detective, if I may ask? I'm a curious and talkative person, you see. Would you say the Débardeurs Union is...
Basically a socialist mob, they seem to be.
Thank you for being candid. Sadly, Wild Pines have cooperated with what amounts to a crime syndicate for 2 decades. However much you feed the wolf always hungers.
One more thing, you said something happened in the elections?
I'm glad you asked. There was a woman, the previous forewoman of the Union. She disappeared.
Interesting.
Disappeared?
Yes. On the last day of the local chapter elections, her daughter phoned in and said she wasn't running anymore. Or coming to work. Ever. End of story.
Some kind of extortion, probably.
Indeed. The company suspects foul play, but there's nothing they could do. It was a union matter.
The whole point of a union is it's separated from the company, so they can't even really investigate it without appearing like they're kind of overbearing the union.
The point of the presentation is, these kinds of things happen around the Clares. Watch out when you're dealing with him.
Thank you for your concern, ma'am. We'll be just fine.
That's all I need here. Let's change the topic.
Of course. How else can I help?
Tell me about the Wild Pines. What do you do?
What we do? I'm afraid I don't speak for Wild Pines as a whole. It's a giant undertaking.
There was a touch of discomfort there. She wants to merely represent.
So what do they do?
The Pines' core competency is logistics. Container shipping, freight, that sort of thing. See those airships there, blinking? Those are the shipping side of things, and that is the terminal. Another subdivision deals with energy, oil and gas exploration, offshore platforms.
Interesting.
The Wild Pines Group is one of the original Revacholian Indo-tribes. Companies awarded royal monopolies by the king, the suzerain himself, centuries ago. The king is long gone, but several of the Indo-tribes remain.
That's intriguing. So everything, pretty much everything is monopolized simply because everything was nationalized under the king, and then the king's gone, but the companies still hold all the power. That makes a lot of sense. What are the other Indo-tribes?
Son Baptiste, Elysium, an unknown entity known as Brightest Star.
You're in good company, it seems.
Why, thank you.
How much money does Wild Pines have?
I'm not at liberty to discuss the company balance sheet, but I can tell you that last year, the company
Jesus.
booked more than 20 billion real in revenue.
The money I owe is so much less than that.
Yes, past a certain point, numbers begin to seem imaginary, but they are quite real for the 72,000 employees who depend on Wild Pines for their paychecks. A conglomerate the size of Wild Pines is like a shark. If it stops moving and growing, it will die. Then what becomes of those 72,000 families? It is a tremendous responsibility.
Where does Wild Pine get all those billions?
They started as an exploration and cargo fleet conducting trade between the Samaran and Insulindian Isolas 250 years ago, when pine ships explored the South Seminese and charted Lomantang on behalf of the suzerain.
Interesting.
Centuries of care, deliberation, and madness have gone into this endeavor. Vessels pass through the great unrest to re-emerge with apricots in tow. The logic of the system is totalizing. It's taken everything from its employees to build it.
Probably also helps that you start with a royal monopoly.
You know more than you let on. Certainly it helped, but most of the original Indo tribes have failed or been absorbed. To survive, Wild Pines had to grow and adapt. No suzerain did that.
Interesting. Okay. So as she said, yeah, it helps, but it wasn't everything. What does such a huge system want with a place like this?
You mean aside from being the terminal's legal owners, who are responsible for moving 8% of the world's cargo?
8% of all cargo in the world. It's like the Suez, right?
There are no minor cogs in the system. Each terminal must be accounted for, lest the entire system break. Every hiccup in such a system means thousands lose their jobs, the world over. I'm here to assure that doesn't happen.
With your help, hopefully, says her warm tone.
Interesting. You seem smart. I need someone to give me a lowdown on this reality we're in.
This reality?
Yes, reality is your side case, an experimental side case.
I'm conducting a personal investigation into the world I find myself in.
How truly curious. A sort of philosopher detective.
My theory is that this inquiry into the nature of reality will ultimately converge with our murder investigation. They are really one and the same.
Are they now?
A deep synthesis. I'll assist you however I can then. Go ahead. Ask.
I can learn the things.
We're in. I know these all look good, but begin with the first, okay?
Oh god, I love the encyclopedic part of my brain. Just like, alright, we're in. Where are we?
We're in Martinez, baby.
Baby?
A casual term of endearment popular among the 50-plus crowd. It's a disco holdover, pay it no heed.
I'm a disco holder for myself.
Aren't we all?
She refers to your corresponding ages.
And what is Martinez?
Martinez is a district of Revachol. A very small district tucked away near the industrial harbour, north of the 881 and Jamrock. You would be excused for not knowing about it. Unimportant, they say. Forgotten, even. Shelled to smithereens during the Revolution. It has its charms, just not this time of year.
Tell me more about Martinez.
I'm not a good ambassador. I've only been here once before, as a teenager. Not a lot has changed. There are ruins, a terminal, fishing boats, reeds, boys with boxy shoulders. This place used to be a province, a workers' resort before the city swallowed it and the artillery did its work. The reeds are the real star of the show here now. The further down the coast, the wilder it gets.
You mentioned a sea. What sea is this?
It's not really a sea, it's the Bay of Revachol. And the bay feeds into the ocean.
Are we near the ocean?
Yes. We're on an island in an ocean. The world's largest body of water. The Insulindic.
This is interesting too, because she's answering all my questions so factually, which is nice. But it's also funny that she doesn't think it's that weird, because she thinks I'm just being, like, philosophical.
Known to the early Revacholians as Les Immensités Bleues, the blue immensities, vast, lukewarm and unknowable, flowing in and out of sight.
What's the name of this island?
Caillou. Imagine a pebble. A smoothed-over pebble amidst a great blue sea, misshapen, cracked. The cracks are the river Esperance. We're in the delta of this river, on the 6th branch, the Martinez distributary.
That's a nice metaphor.
It is clear this pebble is of enormous value to her and to humanity at large.
Okay, that's Martinez. What's Revachol?
Revachol? Revachol is what you call a city.
And what kind of city is Revachol?
The great kind.
As if it's self-explanatory, beyond patriotism, a fact.
What makes Revachol great?
History detective. They built this city to resolve history. Our part in it, at least. Our centuries.
Who built this city?
The nations of the Occident, or migrant workers from Seminine and Ile-Marat, depending on your creed.
When was Revachol built?
In the DeLorean century. 380 years ago.
And why will it resolve history?
They say it's where the terrible questions of our time will be answered. The tensions are highest, the fault lines deepest. By that I mean conflicts. Ideological conflicts. The stuff of men.
Why here?
We are standing on a fertile, self-sufficient island able to sustain up to 200 million people in the middle of the Insulindic Ocean, the world's connective tissue. It's where the money is.
So we're in an unimportant part of an important place.
I think it's fair to say so. Martinez is about
Points across the water where the skyscrapers rise.
22 kilometers from the center of the world. That soldering iron is the bank of the world building. The bottom floors are Insiacom, coalition government, Insulindian Mission Command.
Silence. She lowers her hand. The water, the light. It's as though you're seeing it for the first time. There is no recognition, only the immensity of the sea and the cold radiating from it.
Say nothing, observe the large body of water
She
swelling cold.
observes your eyes scanning the horizon, then breaks the silence. This is one thought you need to complete. Where are you?
Was there something else you wanted to know? I remember something.
This has been informative. Thank you, ma'am. I'm sure my memory-impaired partner has many more questions. Might I suggest not asking them all right now? Messier will be here later too, and tomorrow.
Absolutely. My commitment here is long-term.
You're right, Lieutenant. I'll continue later.
It's better not to eat all your candy at once.
Indeed. I'm always at your service.
That's all for now.
Glad to have been of assistance. The little that I know. Anything else I can do?
What can you tell me about the lynching?
Quite a few things, I'm afraid. The information I'm to share with you includes sensitive trade secrets. For the sake of my employer, I have to ask for your names and badge numbers.
Of course, ma'am. We should have introduced ourselves. I am Lieutenant Kitsuragi from Precinct 57, and this is my colleague from Precinct 41. I'm afraid he doesn't have his badge at the moment. I hope mine will suffice.
How curious. Why is that, Detective?
Remember my apartment told you I had recently suffered from an unusual medical episode? My lost badge is related to it.
I see. So, are you saying you lost your badge during the course of this episode?
Huh. I could have eaten it for all I know. I don't remember anything. This world, the city, nothing.
Oh dear. I suppose this does explain some of the more curious turns in our conversation.
She must have been suspecting something for a while now.
As I said, ma'am, his technique may be very unconventional, but he...
Of course, I sympathize, but I'm afraid I simply can't...
She's a professional negotiator. She should be open to some sort of mutually beneficial arrangement.
How do I negotiate my way out of this?
Feelings will guide the way.
But madam, I need to know about this lynching. It's very important to me. It's the case I'm
I
solving.
assure you, it is no small matter for me either. We all share the responsibility for disarming this situation. I hope you have a badge for me as soon as possible.
You have so much else. I have only this. This is the entirety of my existence.
She's silent. The wind flaps the sail above her.
This boat, for example, and a home somewhere. I only have this case.
Officer.
I don't remember anything except the lynching. There is only this the coast and this lynching.
You know, I don't mean to sound cold, but if you want something, you have to give something back. More than just guilt.
You're doing it. Despite your own best efforts, you're still getting in. Somehow.
I'll be frank with you. If I'm going to break protocol, I need to be able to justify it to my superiors. They're going to want to see something tangible.
Like what?
The Union is conducting drug trade out of the harbour. It's an open secret in Martinez. Surely it must not come as a complete surprise to the RCM either. Perhaps it's time to look into it. Or you can find your badge, which honestly seems like a lost cause.
Detective, a word in private before we continue.
Excuse me for a moment, ma'am.
Wow, you work hard.
I do.
Oh, yes. You hustle. You're a provider. It's tough out there, but you keep it real and provide.
What hard work do I do exactly?
Look at yourself. You're a human pedometer. You must have walked 200,000 steps down cracked asphalt, mosaic, sand, and linoleum after you re-emerged. That is the sign of a hustler who never gives up. The world is harsh and people are evil. You didn't make it that way, and you won't let it break you. You ride.
Yeah, I ride a little.
A little. You make money. You got gills, baby. Got those black papers with the faces of the innocents on them. You bring in the Franco Negros and the Solas. It ain't easy, but you do it. Day in and day out. You didn't make the rules, but you won't lose. You're a cop, and a sprinter, and a money printer.
I mean, I did take the bribe from that Joyce woman.
Oh yeah, you took that bribe hard. You're a killer.
Can't say I didn't make that ceiling guy give me some of his money
Can't
either.
say that. You shook him. You're a killer. A shark.
You would say I took some money from that Mania guy too.
You didn't log that in as a donation either. You don't log any of that shit in. You're a straight rider.
Oh, and then there's pawning stuff off to that suspicious Roy guy.
Yeah, you're in the sales business. Shake 'em for shit and then pawn it off. Law officer style.
I guess I've made some gills, sure.
Sure. And has it been easy? Is life easy? Have you not gone into cardiac arrest? Are you not about to have an anxiety
Jesus.
attack or shoot yourself in the mouth? But you still hustle 24/7, ride or die.
Jesus.
Now, ask yourself, are you rich?
No, I'm actually not.
That's right. You work harder than anyone. You almost rode yourself to the grave and you're still practically a hobo. Why is that?
I don't know. Why am I so poor?
Because of the taxes. G-Man's got his jam-covered sticky fingers in your pocket, stealing from you every time you buy, sell, walk, talk, fart, so much as sneeze. Aren't taxes almost non-existent in the Gotham estate that is Revachol?
I thought there were no taxes.
You and I both, but they got those indirect modes of taxation. Sales tax, excise duty, extraction tax. This tax that doesn't even have a name. Plus, there's the stuff people in other countries pay for that makes them ask for more money from you here. The
Interesting.
Gotham estate's a myth. In total, the coalition government is taking 98% of all your money.
Free market fundamentals now. This is a... Are you sure? That seems like a pretty big number.
What are you not sure about? They're milking your nipples till they bleed. Can't you see? Aren't you sick and tired of having bloody nipples?
I will opt in, but only a little. I do tend to agree with free markets. But you need regulation there. Otherwise, they become effectively the same as a tyrannical government. Bleeding nipples are kind of a pain, but how will deregulation help with that?
It's all about the tax issue, hustler. No other problem in the world is as pressing as top marginal tax rates. And don't you fucking forget it. Lonesome, long way home.
Oh, interesting.
Here we go. Home awaits. Walk past Station 41 and through the market, past the Boogie Street spearhead to the other side of the lake, the frozen eye at the center of the district. Then past the video rental store on the corner. There, at the end of a street lined with pine trees, a small house no larger than a matchbox. 11 Voyager Road. You no longer live there. Those times are gone. And so are those people. Why did you come here? Why are you still here? And where's the dealer? You have to get back to work. That's all you have now.
Interesting. Interesting, you lose 2 empathy when you do this. This one here. What is the benefit of this one? First, if you have a side bitch ideology cooking somewhere, don't sweat it. Fighting indirect taxation for a Gotham estate is compatible with all creeds. It's cool like that. You're a cool anarchist now, unless you don't want to be an anarchist. Whatever. Stuff this... Stuff this meal ticket in your eye socket, and let's see if you can steal some love back from the robber barons at the Customs Agency and the banditos in the Indian Financial Oversights and Corporation Committee. Interesting. I like that. That's a great line here, because it talks about, like, free tax people and kind of small L libertarian types. Yeah. You're a cool anarchist now, unless you don't want to be an anarchist, because that kind of fits in perfectly with that ideology. Anyway, this one here. Derealization. Revachol Special Administration Region Le Calou, in the Insulidian Ocean, Coalition Government, Insulidian Mission Command. Name after name, and none of them are familiar. You seem real, but something is wrong. You feel like a kid looking at stickers on the fridge. Trouvant, the Apricot Company, World's Games 34. You can almost see your hands reaching out for them. Scratch at the corners, see if you peel loose. These feel like the most important of all the thoughts, and one you truly must complete. Interesting. And the 15th, Indo Tribe. Wild Pines, Fields, Capri, Tricentennial, Villas, and La Sala. Names of Ravisholian Indo tribes spring into your head. Set loose in the mention of wild pines. Royal monopolies, octopuses and swordfish, most of them gone now. YPP, Expander, Saint Baptiste, Brighter Star, LUM, Resplendent, East Insulindic, Welter, and El Cassette? But isn't one missing? Wait, no, there was only 14. Why do you feel like there was a 15th Indo tribe? Interesting. Let's do this, because apparently it's important to us. Let's also do the... we can't. Interesting. I guess we have to fill this out and then go up. I don't know. Whatever.
This is not going quite as I hoped it would, Detective.
How'd you hope it would go?
Honestly, I was expecting you to use your unorthodox technique to keep her off balance, and not volunteer us to be her henchmen.
I thought it was going so well.
This woman is running circles around us. She might have known about your misplaced badge all along, or she's simply an adept improviser. Either way, we've played straight into her hands.
Maybe this is all her plan. She might have heard about you.
The company must have more ears on the ground. She could have known about my condition.
I wouldn't go that far. Her reaction did come off as sincere to me. I think she's just quick to adapt. She's a professional, after all.
What do you propose, that we don't investigate the drug trafficking?
No. If there is reasonable suspicion, we must investigate. Otherwise, she could claim we're siding with the Union, or that we're on their take. We'd never hear the end of it. What I propose is, we ask her, then we investigate, briefly. But do not share the outcome of this investigation with her. We tell her it's done, and demand for her information on the lynching.
We could just, find my badge.
Oh, that would be fantastic, but do we have the time? The world is large, and your badge is 8 by 6 centimeters.
The situation might have changed drastically by the time you locate it. Time is of the essence.
You could request a new one from your station, but that would literally take months.
Let's go back to her then.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
Okay, tell me about this alleged drug trafficking.
It's quite straightforward. Someone is using Terminal B to smuggle raw ingredients from the Samar and Isola into Revachol with the Union's blessing. Wild Pines has suspected it for years.
Ingredients for what, ma'am?
Meth and dextroamphetamine, GBL, and various synthetic psychedelics. Honestly, it might be quicker to say what you can't make from the stuff.
Let me get this straight. The materials come from Samara to Revachol through the terminal.
Yes. After they clear the terminal, we lose track. The actual production is taking place at various sites in and around Jamrock Quarter, north of here.
Wild Pine seems to be well apprised of the local drug trade, ma'am. Do you mean to say the Union also produces the product? Sells drugs, I mean?
We're in logistics. It's our business to know. And no. As far as the company knows, the Union does not produce it. They transport the ingredients for a cut.
And you want us to investigate?
Yes, but you won't get anything out of Evrat and the Dock Workers Union. Still, every chain has its weak link.
The handoff. The motor lorries at the roundabout.
The lorries.
Precisely. Someone needs to move the ingredients from the harbour into the city. Once they reach Jamrock, they're distributed to a network of local manufacturers well beyond our grasp. But in transit, they're vulnerable.
How convenient that they're stranded like beached whales at that roundabout.
Perhaps you've noticed that a number of lorries are tangled in a traffic jam at the roundabout just now. Interview the drivers who are still hanging about. One of them might be waiting for a crucial shipment. I'll be explicit. If you find this driver, I will share company secrets with you.
Uncovering Union secrets could also give you an upper hand when dealing with them.
Why didn't you come to the RCM earlier?
We did. On more than one occasion. Apparently, there's some sort of inter-precinct disagreement about whose jurisdiction this area falls under.
We know the company has launched its own probe into the Union's alleged involvement. We also know it's come up empty. It's not just the RCM. No one's been able to find any hard evidence.
Well, here's your chance, officers.
It's no coincidence Leroy's are stranded like this, is it?
No. We asked East Motor Track to raise the drawbridge. The road company is a partner of one of our subsidiaries. However,
Clever.
this is a limited time opportunity. Once the complaint has been processed by the Trade Committee, they'll have no choice but to lower the drawbridge, and the operation will continue. Thousands of litres of raw ingredients will pour onto the streets of Revachol. Not the east across the river, but the west. The vulnerable, the weary.
Well, at least this solves one mystery.
What is that, Lieutenant?
Why I had to call East Motor Track and beg them to open a drawbridge for me. I'd wondered since I first drove in, on my motor carriage.
I am sorry for the inconvenience, Lieutenant Kisaragi, but we need them trapped here. This is a unique opportunity. I'm sure you understand.
What proof do you have that the Union is involved?
How do you think they're financing this strike? There are thousands of
I was
unpaid
thinking the same
dock
thing.
workers going strong for the 4th month straight.
There was a shakedown of local businesses preceding the strike. Many were squeezed to bankruptcy to fund it.
With all due respect to these desert cacti, the contents of a few cash registers cannot provide for 2,000 men. The local businesses can scarcely provide for themselves.
So you think the strike is being funded with source ingredients for drugs?
Precisely. Smuggled out of that very gate at night, most likely, then loaded onto lorries and driven to Jamrock. You simply need to find one driver who will open up to you.
We already have some suspicion that one of the drivers was present at the lynching.
The two might even be connected.
Or not. Though, if you have evidence to the contrary, I'm eager to hear it.
As eager as I am to share it, Lieutenant, once the job is done.
Alright, I've made up my mind about the smuggling investigation.
Yes?
We'll take the case, probe the drivers, see what it yields.
Excellent. According to my reports, there are at least 3 lorry drivers lingering near the roundabout. Hopefully one of them will know something. It may come to nothing, or it may just blow the case wide open. I can keep the drawbridge up for a few more days at least. You should have the time you need. In the meantime, let me know if there's any other way I may be of assistance.
That's all for now.
Of course, Detective. Take care.
I'm interested about learning more about reality, as it were, but I'm also somewhat interested in getting the body down, for starters. So we have the jam mystery. Someone using Terminal B is smuggling raw ingredients of drugs into Revachol. Joyce said there are 3 drivers to investigate. Talk to them. One of them must know something about the drug trade. And that will get us info about the lynching. We need to go here on Wednesday. It's currently Monday, right? I don't actually know what day it is today. Is there a way to tell? Anyway. A secret passage at the back. Get a reality lowdown. We can get more information later. Alright, I think we're good. For now, at least. I can grab these bottles. I think the last thing I'm gonna do is take this shit and sell it and see how much money I get. Because who knows, maybe I can get enough to pay off what I owe. I think did I owe 140? I feel like maybe that was correct. I owed some large amount to this dude to keep things going. So we are sitting at like 45 minutes, so I'll end the video here. I'll just go and collect some shit and then be back, I suppose, next episode. But if you like the video, please leave a like. If
This
you're not,
trash container is locked. The sliding lid has a padlock that says, "Whirling in rags." There's something in there, not necessarily connected to the case, but still.
why am I looking at you, trash container? You're just a trash container.
The body is downwind from here. Maybe you prefer the smell of garbage to the smell of death.
What do you think could be in here?
Trash, food waste from the cafeteria. They lock these containers to keep the derelicts from flocking in. Could be evidence, too.
Seems like a reasonable assumption.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get the lock open?
We could try using a pry bar. There's one in my motor carriage, or
Lieutenant?
Or we could ask for a key from the manager of the Whirling in Rags. He probably has one.
He probably does.
He might also have information. This is better than the pry bar idea.
Alright, cool. Good to know. I came in here to get bottles from that bin, but I guess not. So I'm going to sell these bottles, and that's going to be the end of the episode. If nothing happens, the episode will end, like, right now. Otherwise, I guess you'll be with me when shit happens. Alright, see you guys.